Labour's plan for small business launches today, with Shadow Business and Trade Secretary Jonathan Reynolds laying out Labour's plans to back small firms. Addressing small business owners and members of the Essex Chamber of Commerce and a logistics and packaging company in Basildon. Jonathan Reynolds says Labour brings needed stability to our small firms. And who better to assess the mood of the UK small business firms than GB's News and Business and Economics editor, I'll get there in the end, Liam Halligan with On the Money. He's right here.
Put your dentures back in, Martin.
Found my teeth. Now, to be fair, you've been out with Jonathan Reynolds. He comes on the show a lot, and he seems to have some pretty progressive ideas. In fact, a couple of things he was saying were Brexit Party manifesto pledges, in particular the scrapping of business taxes. A very progressive idea.
So it's pretty audacious of Labour. They sent Jonathan Reynolds, one of their front benchers, Shadow Business Secretary, as you say, the bloke that wants to replace Kemi Badenoch, that job, quite a big job. They sent him to Basildon, which is very much a Tory stronghold. It's generally a Tory seat. John Barron's the sitting MP, very highly regarded. But in 97, Labour did win Basildon. They won it in 97 and they lost it after one or two terms. But it is a Tory stronghold. And Jonathan Reynolds talked to a bunch of small business owners, small business leaders. I was there. He said that he wanted it to be a two-way conversation between Labour and business. We're committed to backing British business. He said that he wanted to reform business rates, which businesses pay on the rateable value of their premises. High street retailers in particular don't like that one. We need to boost skills so we can access the talent you need. We want to tackle one of the biggest issues for small businesses, that is late payments. Labour want to bring in new legislation to clamp down on late payments, even though one of the worst late payer in the country is the government, the public sector. But look, I got time to sit down, or at least talk to Jonathan Reynolds in the main packing area of Finishing Line, which is a fulfilment company in Basildon, and this is what he had to say.
What you want, what any business wants from any government, is that stability. And I think if you're talking to business about the environment they need, you have to have the humility to say that environment hasn't been there. And I think if you look at what Labour is putting forward in terms of its policy plan for businesses large and small, that is a better set of policies, but it's also a better set of institutions that underpin that give people confidence. And I think if you just look at the politics, we're not encumbered by some of the baggage of the past, whether that is on Brexit or house building targets or things that basically haven't gone right in the last 13 years. I think for various reasons, Labour's in a better position to offer more on that.
Really? You're not encumbered by baggage from Brexit? Your leader's favourite song is the EU's national anthem. It's pretty controversial.
I don't think that's controversial. I think we, in every trading environment, should be looking to get the best terms for British businesses for their export markets. I think we look at the EU in exactly the same way we would look at any other potential export market.
But a Labour government then, led by Keir Starmer, who of course spent several years in Parliament trying to reverse Brexit, you're not going to reverse Brexit?
No, and we've been absolutely clear about that, and I understand how strongly people feel about these questions. I mean, we all had that experience, we all lived through it, we were all part of it. But when we talk about, it's not about the single market or the customs union, it's about what are the trading terms that we could get, the improvements that we could see. It's simply about doing that in trade and economic terms, and I think any government with any jurisdiction should be looking at how to get the best for Britain as part of that.
You say you want root and branch reform of business rates, but business rates raise £30 billion a year. How are you going to replace that money?
We're now in a position where no one really expects the Chancellor, when they stand up each year, to keep the system as it otherwise would be without any kind of reliefs applied to it. We've had now 5 years of quite significant reductions for certain sectors. So we're already acknowledging the system isn't working. What you haven't got the benefit from those annual decisions is the longer-term certainty that business needs. So look, for us it's about, first of all, we want a system that removes some disincentives to investment and expansion. We want to make sure the balance across sectors is fair, and we want to fundamentally produce a system that doesn't punish you for putting that investment in and expanding and employing more people and making a bigger contribution to an area. There'll be a system of business taxation, but if we get it right, it will remove the problems as we commonly understand.
Will it raise more or less than the £30 billion that's raised by business rates as they currently stand? Well, it's an important question.
You're tempting me into a stealth spending commitment. You know we can't do that before the election. There will be revenue raised, but it will be a substantially different tax to how we commonly understand business rates in the UK
But you
today.
won't say whether it's more or less than the current tax burden imposed on business by the business rates regime. It's an important point, Shadow Secretary.
It is. We've got some specific plans on that. Part of this engagement exercise that we're doing is getting that right. So rather than make that explicit commitment now, we're looking at things that would substantially affect how the system operates, but that's for the election and the specific plans to make sure we get it right.
You'll understand a lot of business owners, a lot of ordinary workers will suspect that Labour will end up putting up taxes even from the current 70-year high tax burden.
Well, look, we've been very clear that we think business rates as a burden are a barrier to investment and growth.
A barrier to investment and growth, business rates, says Jonathan Reynolds. He's pretty sure-footed in interviews. Obviously, I was kicking his tyres a little bit on whether this new business rates regime will increase the tax burden on business and whether or not Labour would actually try and reverse Brexit. We shall see. I think we're going to see a lot more of Jonathan Reynolds in the weeks and months to come as the general election approaches.
Great stuff, Liam Halligan. Thank you very much.